NBA insider Shams Charania. Shams, suspensions, they were handed down after that Hornets-Pistons scuffle that we saw earlier this week. What exactly did the NBA decide?
Malika, 4 suspensions handed out today. 2 for the Charlotte Hornets. Miles Bridges and Moussa Diabate both got 4 games, but the most significant suspension in all of it was Isaiah Stewart, 7-game suspension, and then Jalen Duren got 2 games. And here's how they were divvied out. Jalen Duren got 2 games for initiating the altercation. Moussa Diabate and Miles Bridges. League executive James Jones led a series of interviews with every player involved here to get a sense of what their perspective was. Isaiah Stewart had a long emotional interview with James Jones, but they have landed on these 4 suspensions, Isaiah Stewart being the most significant at 7 games.
All right, so we see all 4 players facing some level of suspension here, but an important note, Shams, Jalen Duren, who is facing a suspension, he will be able to participate in the All-Star festivities that are happening this weekend. Shams, thank you very much for that insight and information. As we bring it inside our Los Angeles studio, Chiney Ogwumike, Danny Green, Tim McMahon. Tim, I'm going to start with you. I know you've been talking to folks around the league. What's your reaction and the league's reaction to these suspensions?
Honestly, I think the Sheriff Adam Silver went a little bit soft on crime. I mean, really, look, especially with Isaiah Stewart, he doesn't just have history. I mean, this is a significant repeat offender who came flying off the bench, throwing haymakers, you know.
Yeah, I assumed it was going to be at least 10, but this is very reasonable, lenient, very, very reasonable.
Reasonably lenient.
I like it. I'm not condoning fighting, but I'm sure that some coaches, Joe Mazzulla, would be in like for this. You know, we need some more testiness and we need some more guys getting after it. We don't need to extend, but you know, I'm gonna say it's great for viewership. But people like to see guys get competitive.
It had me going from this and then
Popcorn,
activating the remote control. I think in some ways, largely they got it right.
Yep.
You know, for the players that are not, like this is new to them, Moussa Diab, they're actually showing you that they care to win. Now we know everyone, the body language that I saw with Isaiah Stewart on the bench, everyone was like, we know this is the guy that will always do this regardless.
And he's done it before.
Yeah.
But you are #1 in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
And you're missing a couple of guys, you know, the next few games.
Right.
You don't want to lose the momentum you built, and to me, that was the most costly part of this.
And that's why I like it more so, because we don't want to see, we already have enough reasons for guys to be out.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need a bunch of games for these guys to be suspended. We want to see these teams continue to thrive, so that's why I think he was lenient at the Sheriff.
And you know, when you're looking at Isaiah Stewart, he can still qualify for all defense, but he has to play in every single game for the rest of the season, at least 20 minutes, and he was on that track to get maybe an all defensive nod here. So suspensions have been handed out there, but let's shift to the action last night on the court, shall we? And maybe Chiney Lakers fans, should we warn them to avert their eyes?
Right.
Because this is Wemby's world, and really, we were all just living in it. Keep track of that tracker at the bottom of your screen, because Wemby just took over, Chiney.
Those strides are wild. It takes him 3 steps to go from half court to the rim.
This Victor run continues. Hail to the victor. I mean, finishing emphatically down.
Thank you very much.
7-5 spinning like that, come on.
Yeah.
Stephon Castle, their connection has been excellent.
Spotting up.
Wemby with the 3. By the way, that's 17 consecutive points for Victor Wembanyama in the first quarter. And then about a minute later here, Stephon Castle, nice little lob. Victor finishes through traffic inside. Going ahead to the second quarter, didn't slow down here. De'Aaron Fox comes up with the steal.
Oh, this was funny because I was like, is he going to make the layup? Then he's like, no, Victor's coming.
Terrible
You know what?
pass, but he made it look good.
If you can finish the pass, sometimes the worst passes make for the best lobs or the best highlights, and we certainly got one. Later in the second, Wemby drives inside. That's not fair.
I'm bigger than you.
That's not fair. A few minutes later, Dylan Harper throwing the lob to Victor. They're going to find you.
Nothing Kennard could do there.
And then in the third, Wembanyama again, heat check, hits the wing 3. He finished with 40 in the Spurs win. Let's take a listen to J.J. Redick talking about the French phenom after the game.
I know right now we got to contend with him, and he's one of the 5 best players in the world. He's put that stamp on himself, and you know, it's more than, to me, it's like more than the counting stats with him, because there's such an avoidance of him defensively.
Yeah, well said, JJ. The Spurs offense, though, it was clicking. They put up a season-high 136 points. San Antonio has now scored 130 or more in 3 straight games. That is tied for their longest streak ever. And Wemby, of course, led the way. 40 points in this one, but his impact might be even more pronounced. Shanae, Danny, you're at the big board.
Yes,
for a big
are.
night, take us through what you saw on both ends of the floor here.
I know the Lakers were on a back-to-back, but so was our group chat based off of what Victor Wembanyama was able to do. I'm going to take the offense, you take the defense, because the group chat was popping because how consecutively he was scoring, but it was not what you do, it was how you do it. So as we roll to the tape right here, Victor Wembanyama is a cheat code because he can get the rebound and go. He's operating truly like a guard. And what do? You wall up. You have 2 players here, LaRavia and Kennard, that are going to try to stop him, but he's also slender, man. So he slips through, and like I said, it only takes 3 steps for him to get to the rim. The double team's going to come on this possession, which is smart from the baseline. There's Bronny. He's going to not force it. He could shoot over both of these players. Instead, he finds, the ball rotation. The ball comes back to him. You pass up a good shot to get a great shot. This man is shooting 37% from 3. This is wild. He's knocking it down like he is Steph Curry when he's in the flow. And how good was he when it comes to the minutes? It's wild. Fewest minutes played in a 40-point game. That is Victor.
I'm not up here? Dang, I thought I was going to be up there. No.
Okay, that's
I had a good quarter one time, though.
40 points in 26 minutes. It was wild. Even Danny last night was like, I can't believe what I'm seeing on the box score.
Am I reading this right? 25 in 8 minutes? Doesn't make any sense. I'm like, that can't be possible.
What about defense, though?
We're going to go over to the defense because this is where I think he's the most effective. I know he scored at a high clip, but there's things you can teach in the basketball world. There's one thing you can't teach now. You know what that is?
Size.
7'4". You can't teach that. You can't teach height. Sorry, short kings out there. But he can cover ground from anywhere on the floor. He can guard 1, he can guard 2, he can guard multiple people. Takes away the floater. Takes away the pass, takes away the lob. Size matters, length matters. He can get deflections anywhere in the court. He can recover so quickly. On the second clip, same thing. Look where he's at. Look how far he's off Jackson Hayes. He can guard Jackson Hayes and get out to a shooter if he needs to. Pick and roll, pick and pop, whatever he's covering. I think they're going to swing here. He's in the paint from right here. Look how much ground he covers. Rui gets 2 dribble pull up. Look at this length right here. Size, hand, big hand. Rui can see the rim because he's 7'4" with an 8-foot wingspan. He can cover a lot of ground, and that's what makes him so impactful defensively. And you can see the difference of him on and off the court. 39.9%, lowest in the NBA. And when he's off the court, the 6th highest in the NBA, 48.8%. When he's not on the court. So
yeah, on both ends of the floor, this was truly a masterclass.
Yeah, it absolutely was.
In a short amount of time, too.
And I loved the way that when Victor, after the game, he said, we have had a tendency to play down to our competition, to play down to lesser teams. And I know it's easy to say, okay, the Lakers, they were without their big 3. Of course, the Spurs were supposed to make this kind of statement. Not always. This can be a trap game. Tim, you were there. You were listening to what Victor was saying post-game. And I don't know about you, but listening to him, watching what we saw on the floor, I started to think to myself, okay, maybe in May, maybe in June, we could still be having a conversation about this team.
Yeah, Lakers also without DeAndre Ayton. That knee stiffened up as Wemby was out there warming up. Listen, I'll tell you this. The San Antonio Spurs absolutely believe they are capable of winning a championship this season. They will also tell you, hey, if we've got one All-Star, Victor Wembanyama must be the MVP. I have not talked to a single person in the league who doesn't believe that Wembanyama is going to win championships, plural. The question is, can they skip the line? Can a team, a group with 0 playoff seasoning, essentially, make that run this season? I am skeptical, but as our buddy Wendy says, do not put a ceiling on Wemby. He'll just hit his head on it.
I mean, before the season started, I had them as a dark horse. Can't put them in that conversation when they're at the top of the West right now. But, yeah, I think they could definitely get to the Western Conference Finals. Yeah. Depending on matchups, but I think they can get there. The tough matchup is going to be the Denver OKCs when they get there, and I think that's where the seasoning comes into play at most.
It takes a couple years. I know this coming from Houston.
I'm not going to believe it till they show it.
Yeah, exactly. Like last year, the Rockets were top 2, top 3 in the West, and then they ran into the Golden State Warriors.
You're not going to believe it till you see it.
Yeah, so exactly. So I do believe, like, you look at the Pistons, you look at the Rockets, you look at the Spurs, they're all trying to win, but I believe out of all of those 3, they're, like, when you have Victor Wembanyama, that's the ultimate cheat code.
Could not be more impressed from what we saw from Victor last night, and I was hitting the group chat. He looks like he's also put on a little bit of muscle over the course of this season as well. He really is starting to look like the player that we all expect him to be at some point. But something else happened last night on the Lakers side of all of this. LeBron James, He missed his 18th game of the season last night against the Spurs. So what does that mean? That means he's now ineligible for postseason honors and awards. So that streak of 21 straight seasons of him making All-NBA, the longest in NBA history. We knew it was a probability, but it is official now that that chapter is closed. LeBron is the author, the owner of so many incredible streaks. So let's not, cry about what's happening. Let's celebrate what did happen. The most memorable accomplishment to you, Tim, when you're looking at LeBron's career, because this has got to be up there.
I think the 3-1 comeback against the 73-win Warriors is the most remarkable championship in NBA history. That all-time leading scorer, all the numbers. This comeback is the most incredible thing that LeBron's been able to pull off in his career.
Tim, I love your pick, but I have to go from when I was a kid and I had to watch it when I wasn't in the NBA. His run against Detroit.
The fact that you're still having this conversation.
I'm still having He was doing it before I got to the league, and he's still doing it after I'm in the league. But the run he had against Detroit was unbelievable, and I've seen it firsthand time and time again. And I text him, like, that was unreal, bro. I can't believe you did that. But, yeah.
Tim, you mentioned my favorite ever championship, 2016, right? That series was unbelievable.
That's your favorite ever championship?
It is, but also it was the year my sister won MVP in the WNBA.
Yeah, it was a good year. Good year in the Kuminga house.
But I will say, we sort of sleep on the fact that he went to 10 straight NBA finals.
Yeah.
A decade of always being in the NBA finals. Make that make sense.
There's a long list of things that we can put up there that will never be broken on his record list.
Absolutely.
Say,
that one?
That one, the 10 points in a game.
Yeah.
There's so many for LeBron in his historic career.
True.
LeBron, an all-timer. Let's get to the future coming up here on NBA Today, because it was a big night in college hoops, right? AJ Debinsa, Cam Boozer. There's another name, though, that NBA executives are paying attention to that you're going to want to stick around to hear why. Plus, just call Indy Brittany because, oops, Janae. They did it again. The Pacers, they walked into Madison Square Garden. They got another overtime win. We're going to break down what they exposed and if the Knicks can fix it.
They don't want to be toxic.
But if you're New York, there is no time to dwell, Janae. Joel Embiid and the Sixers, they're waiting in Philly, and the Knicks' response tonight will tell us a whole lot.
Let's go.
Let's go coast to coast. Vroom, vroom. College Prospect Edition. This is why teams are tanking, folks. Let's start with AJ Debinsa. He currently leads the nation in scoring. He put up 36, 5, and 7 against Baylor last night. Janae, he's looking kind of like a #1 pick.
He's looking good, and he'll say, I am that guy. And I love that he believes he's a superstar, and he's making it happen. He's willing it to happen. It's not easy to score at this level in college and be consistent. 24.5 points per game is impressive. And I love what he's going to bring to the next level because it's that confidence, that it factor that he possesses. This is a star in the making, y'all.
Contending, though, for that top spot with AJ Debinsa.
It's crowded up there.
Yeah, is Cam Boozer and Duke. They quickly rebounded from that loss to who, Danny?
My Carolina boys.
Yeah, 17 points, 10 boards for Cam in the win over Pitt. Danny, I won't subject you to saying nice things about Duke guys. So, Tim, what are NBA teams saying about Boozer?
Yeah, I did talk to one talent evaluator who had Boozer at the top of his board. That's not a majority opinion, but the same guy had Tyrese Halliburton #1 in that draft. Unique blend of field finesse, and just physical strength.
Yeah, it seems really he's an NBA-ready guy. Another freshman, though, who could be in the top 10, Darius Acuff Jr. from Arkansas, 28 points, 5 assists, and a win over LSU last night. Danny, what should people know about his game?
Man, he's just so mature for a freshman point guard. I got a chance to watch this kid about a week or two ago. He didn't have a great night, but he didn't force the issue. He didn't allow double teams to get him rattled. He's very poised, mature, and can score with the best of them. Good at the mid-range, good at running the team, running the show, and letting the game come to him. So I was really impressed with this young, mature point guard.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look here at the top 5 projected picks. This is our latest mock draft. Darren Peterson still holding on to the top spot, but he's only played in 13 of the Jayhawks' 24 games this season. He's been dealing with various injuries. And then UNC's Caleb Wilson, Houston's Kingston Flemings round out the top 5. A really deep draft that we're going to see in June. But back to the NBA and last night, let's check in on the Clippers and Rockets playing the first of a back-to-back in Houston while at Intuit Dome sets up for All-Star Weekend. And Fred VanVleet, he joined the broadcast to give his thoughts on the season so far for the Rockets.
I've been on Twitter a lot more this year than ever before, so I'm not playing. I just think everybody needs to chill out and, take the growth and the development of this team. We're in good shape going into the break. And, the real basketball starts after the All-Star break.
being on Twitter a lot more can be dangerous. And speaking of, Kevin Durant, he gets to the paint here, going to work.
Let me tell you, that man will never chill out. And I love to see it.
You know what? Endless entertainment. By the way, he's the 4th player in NBA history with 1,000 career 20-point games, joining LeBron, Karl Malone, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He finished with the game high 26, but we got ourselves a game here, Shanae.
Yep. If you think about this, Alperen Sengun, he may not have the greatest athleticism, but he has the elite footwork that keeps him relevant.
He finished with 22 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists in the Rockets' win here. And that gives Houston a little edge. They move ahead of the Nuggets into 3rd place in the Western Conference. That is the highest they've been, Shanae, since January the 2nd. But if you look, there just isn't a lot of margin for error here because the Rockets, they're also just 2 games out of the play-in here. So, Shanae, level of concern here, the up and down that we've seen from Houston.
I'm not so concerned.
All right.
I never thought that we'd say this year, the first year of getting Kevin Durant, anytime you get a star player in that first year, it's hard to win a championship. It's nearly
These two
impossible.
look a little more concerned than you are.
I'm concerned.
When we saw the beginning of the season, they were lacking a point guard. A lot of people were like, oh, this is going to be a huge issue for them. They are currently 3rd in the West. I do believe they're overperforming relative to the deficiencies on their roster. I am not concerned, just like many other teams that are young with Amin Thompson, Alperen Sengun, who's now an all-star again. They're ahead of schedule in my eyes. They can win in the postseason, but I don't think this is necessarily their year to win at all.
It's supposed to be. You traded for Kevin Durant. Your window is 2 years, maybe 3. This is a loss.
But you lose Steven Adams, and you don't have a shooter, and you.
But they did nothing to replace those guys.
Moves in the trade deadline to get shooting or a point guard, or your superpower is rebounding with Steven Adams. You lose him. Fred VanVleet, we don't know if he's coming back, so you don't have a table setter. Amin Thompson's been great. Sengun's been great with set the table a little bit, but there's chaos out there. Now you don't have shooting around KD. You don't have rebounding. This is a cause for concern.
You listen when the GM of the team, Rafael Stone, says after the trade deadline, look, because of the injuries, maybe this is just not our year. I mean, he told you that. Fred VanVleet, their leader, goes down at a pre-training camp team deal in the Bahamas. His goal is to come back for the playoffs. That is far from a guarantee. By the way, the fastest return from an ACL over the last decade, Danny Green.
How'd you do it?
I was one of them. A lot of rehab.
How long?
8 months, double ligament, 8 months. Joe Ingles, 7 months. He had ACL, so you can get back.
Did you
in 7
come
months.
back and then, like, you're right into a playoff push, and it's a.
I could have came. I came back in January, so I had time. I came 7.5 months. I was cleared. I came back at the 8-month mark to give my tendon a little more time.
But would that solve what Houston is facing? And by the way, this isn't like the sky is falling for Houston.
Yeah.
But it is when you acquire Kevin Durant and their issues were executing offensively down the stretch in games. That should be plug and play with KD fixing those problems.
It should, but that's only if Fred comes back like the Fred we saw last year playoffs.
Which is asking too much. He's coming off an ACL after what would be 7 months. You can't expect him to be 35 minutes per game. Fred VanVleet. Steven Adams is not coming back this year. The one thing I will say, yes, the Rockets made an aggressive move to get Kevin Durant. They did not shorten their runway. They did not give up any of the guys they are building around that are young talents.
Who's been bringing the ball up for the Houston Rockets?
A lot of them in
Thompson and Sengun.
Is that what they thought was going to be the championship ball bringer up? Like, no, that's not the case. I know, right?
The official championship ball bringer upper.
I'm looking at the Houston Rockets. I had great ambitions for them. I thought that they could compete when healthy, but once they lost 2 key pieces that are integral in going up against the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Denver Nuggets, all of those teams in the West, it just, like Rafael Stone said,
it just may not be their year. And that's exactly what you want to be hearing in February. Shanae, you are our championship ball bringer upper.
There you go. Love that England. Great England.
All right, let's get to the
One of them days, y'all.
Brunson's 40, not enough. So how does New York bounce back on the second night of a back-to-back? Tonight in the Big Apple, Pascal Siakam gave Jalen Brunson and the Knicks all that they could handle. So this is the first time the Pacers are in Madison Square Garden since Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals. 18 seconds left in the fourth. Pacers up 1.
Spicy P.
30 points in this one, DG. So the Pacers extend their lead. And Halliburton is excited. 5.2 seconds left. Knicks down 2, inbounding. Brunson gives it up to Landry Shamet. Shamet's 3 is off, but Karl-Anthony Towns. Oh, no.
Good luck.
It's fouled by Aaron Nesmith on the putback. And Rick Carlisle cannot believe it.
He's not disappointed.
So Towns is headed to the line. It's a second. Shushes the crowd. And this game is tied, so we are headed to overtime.
Free basketball.
Let's play some basketball. I rewatched that the other day. Oh, stands the test of time. All right, Quentin Jackson. Jackson drills the 3 from the wing, so the Pacers up 7. Halliburton again, and that jacket. Under 20 seconds left, the Knicks down 7, but trapping in the corner. Neesmith turns it over. Shamet for 3. Yes, sir. The Knicks staying alive, now down 4. 10 seconds left. Knicks still down 4 after 2 missed Siakam free throws. Brunson gets it. That's how you want to have the ball. Top of the arc for 3. He had 40 points, 8 assists, and it's a 1-point game. But now the Knicks down 3. Shamet at the line after missing the first. Shamet misses the second intentionally, but he failed to hit the rim.
Yeah, it's a bad miss.
So the Pacers do get the win, though, 137-134 in overtime. That was a ride. That was a journey. But the Knicks, they entered the season, right? They were orange and blue skies. Stephen A. was excited. Spike Lee was ecstatic. Championship dreams were in the air. But lately, that forecast has been a little less clear. New York, 3rd in the East, but they're just 1 game ahead of the Cavaliers, 2 games ahead of the Raptors, and don't look now, the Sixers. They're rising, and that is where the Knicks are tonight. They're in Philly. That's where they'll continue to rely on Jalen Brunson, right? I mean, he's averaging over 25 points, 5 assists for the 3rd straight season. All other Knicks players, they've only ever done that once. And if you've been maybe tuning out Philly, we get it, but this is the time to turn the TV on because Tyrese Maxey, an all-star starter, and he's playing at the highest level we've seen yet. Career highs across the board, and he's the first Sixers guard that has had these type of numbers since Allen Iverson. And Joel Embiid, he's looking like that dominant Joel that we all remember. He's increased his scoring in every month this season, and he's averaging nearly 30 a night in the new year. So we know New York is among the league's hottest teams. They've won 9 of their last 11 games, even despite what we saw last night. But the Sixers here, they are not to be overlooked anymore, Danny. What are you looking forward to seeing in this matchup?
Joel, and that's the reason why they're winning. You know, he had a stretch where it was 8 or 9 games, averaging 33 points per game at 52% from the field, 52% from 3. Like, he was knocking down threes. And the most surprising thing is the minutes, 30, 35-plus minutes a game, getting active, getting to the free throw line, looking like the old Joel that we've seen.
Yeah, he really is.
Year. So along with him playing like that and then Tyrese Maxey doing what he's doing, this duo is something to be reckoned with in the East.
Yeah, and that's why I'm looking at the point guards. I don't anticipate that Maxey and Brunson will guard each other a lot, but Jalen Brunson has been in the conversation for the best point guard in the Eastern Conference. Tyrese Maxey has put himself in that conversation this year, and the Sixers have become his team, not Joel Embiid.
The franchise, that's what they call them.
Right, you're right. Honestly, we had the pleasure of being in New York during their huge run last year, and I just feel for Knicks fans because it is.
You're already going there.
I know, right? Just because it's up and down, and it's so hard. You come into the season with great expectations, saying this is our year to really right the wrongs of last season. We can make it to an NBA Finals, and then they lose a couple games, and then they win a couple games, and then it seems like in moments they play to the level of their competition.
Yeah.
They have a lot of the same players. Jalen Brunson is doing a good job of deferring a little bit more. Karl-Anthony Towns trying to get more post-ups.
He's been looking better.
They have more of an egalitarian offense than New York Knicks.
There's a word.
There's more
Stanford.
I gotta do better after what I said. Championship ball handler. The rock is being spread, but the results don't look so much more different over the course of this regular season.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, what is the impact going to be when it matters most? Are we going to see a lot of this? Or are we going to see them consistently being that top dog?
You've been traversing the league.
Traversing? We got some big word bringer-uppers here.
Portland, Stanford, these two, she is in a completely different stratosphere than I'm in here.
North Texas over here can't hang.
You have been all over the league this season, Tim, and we say like, oh, the East is wide open. I don't know that the East is actually wide open. I think there's a handful of teams, the Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Detroit Pistons, that are all in that jumble at the top. From what you're hearing from teams, do they fear New York?
No, of course nobody fears New York. It ain't like New York. I'm serious. Like, why would you fear New York? It's not like they've been to the finals. It's not like they have any reason to be established as even the favorite in the Eastern Conference. And people say the East is wide open because they don't really believe in the Pistons, because they haven't seen the Pistons do it.
Yeah,
I'll remind you this.
That's the feeling I'm getting.
People didn't fear the Oklahoma City Thunder last year for the same reason. Well, we haven't seen them do it.
Yep.
Well, they did it. And
you can get fearful very quickly.
You better respect the Pistons. Or beef stew will come after.
That's an interesting distinction because maybe you don't fear the New York Knicks, but you do fear Jalen Brunson, especially late in games. Maybe you don't fear Cade Cunningham or Jalen Duren, but you do fear the Detroit Pistons and how they're playing a brand of basketball. And I think the difference there is a player versus identity. We know the identity of the Detroit Pistons. Do we know the identity of the New York Knicks? Because if they had that plus their players, they would create a fearsome
I think
situation.
you do fear Philadelphia 76ers playing them in the first round. So those teams that are not getting right, New York does not want to play Philly in the first round, so they got to get right.
We have a little preview of that tonight on ESPN.
You better get right before you get left.
That brings us to our head-to-head. It's brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, Danny, I'm going to start with you here. Tonight, who do you think is going to have more points, Mikal Bridges or VJ Edgecombe?
I'm going to go with Mikal Bridges. VJ's been playing great. He's been aggressive. I know it's Tyrese and Joel's show right now, but I said, well, OG, I don't know if he's playing tonight or not. I know he's out before.
No, he's out tonight.
So I'm going to give the edge to Mikal. I think he's going to have to step up more and score for them tonight.
How about more points, Tim? Big Body Brunson or Tyrese Maxey?
I'm going to go Tyrese. Brunson's legs might be a little bit heavy on that back-to-back, and Tyrese is
yes, Carter.
right up on 30 per game.
Chinenye, last one is for you. Who do you think has more points, Towns or Embiid?
Oh, man, if Brunson is scoring, I might go with Joel Embiid in this one. This is a point for him to make, take notice and make an emphasis on him being back. But I also want to say, I said, don't want to get, things go right before things get left. I think that was Mylan in our crew that crowned that saying.
And don't mistake that they used to have smoke, Kat and Joel.
We should say Joel is questionable, but he did sit out earlier this week on Monday, so we're hoping that we get to see him in this one. DraftKings has the most ways to bet on your favorite NBA teams. All customers, they will receive a profit boost on any placed head-to-head market. Download the app, use the... This is Hollywood, after all, and last night, Victor Wembanyama, he starred in a blockbuster at Crypto.com Arena. The Spurs, he set a record for that franchise. He recorded 25 points in the first quarter. By the way, he's also the youngest Spur to have a 25-point quarter ever in the game. And think about the list of insane legends that have played for that franchise. And the scoring, it didn't stop Victor, right? It didn't stop after the first. He finished with 37 points in the first half. And just to put that into a little bit of perspective, that is the most in any half by a Spurs player in the play-by-play era. That goes all the way back to 97, so that includes Tim Duncan's entire career. And Wemby continues his California coastal trip. A little visit to the Golden State Warriors tonight, and he's been dominant against Golden State. He's put up 27, 11, 5 in 6 games in his career, but has only one win in those 6 meetings. And with Wemby taking on the Warriors tonight right here on ESPN, our Golden State reporter, Anthony Slater, he released his latest story on the state of the Warriors post-trade deadline. It's out right now on ESPN.com. There is so much in this story here as Victor heads to Golden State. So with us now is our reporter, Anthony Slater, to take us inside this post-deadline era for the Golden State Warriors. But let's start with tonight here, Slater. The Warriors, they have a very literal tall task in dealing with Victor Wembanyama. So how would you describe how the Warriors are feeling about this matchup?
Yeah, you mentioned Wembanyama's lack of success against the Warriors. That's 2 losses in San Antonio earlier this season, but you'll probably remember Steph Curry, 46 points and 44 points in those games. He's out tonight. Runner's knee, we've talked about the reasoning for it, but they're being cautious. They're going to sit him through the break. People are not going to see him in Los Angeles, which is, not great for the league. But they're targeting that first game out of the break, February 19th against the Celtics. Steve Kerr has said he's optimistic Steph will play that night, and Kristaps Porzingis can potentially debut that night. Porzingis is going to stay in the Bay and kind of work his way towards that game. And then as far as dealing with Wembanyama, I mean, look, we're going to be looking at the Draymond Green-Wembanyama matchup tonight.
Yep.
They had you remember that spectacular alley-oop that didn't count in the last matchup. Also, I would say Al Horford and Guy Santos, part of their reformed front court since the trade deadline, are both playing extremely well right now.
That's going to be something to watch whenever Draymond and Victor match up. And it is the second night of a back-to-back for Vic, but he said last night that he plans to play in this one. Slater, going a little bit more big picture here. You went into detail on Jonathan Kuminga and his 5-year tenure. Before we officially close this chapter, and I don't ask you about it anymore because we've talked a lot about this over the last couple of months, what can you tell us now that the saga is over, and what does that say about the Warriors as a whole right now?
Yeah, the internet today obviously globbed onto that one detail I had within there
Which
about
detail?
One of his one of his friends, taking too much food in the Warriors in a tense meeting with Steve Kerr on December 10th in his office. One of the things that he was kind of dinging Kuminga about, and it was just an example of the toxicity of where this relationship got to. Petty was the term many people used, and it was it had deteriorated to this point over 5 years because what I tried to lay out was two reasons. Number one, the coach and player just had completely misaligned views of where he was going. Jonathan Kuminga wants to be, an advantage creator, a guy with the ball in his hands. Steve Kerr over the last few years has made it clear he wants him to be more in the Andre Iguodala role. He's mentioned Sean Marion, Aaron Gordon, those type of players. But the real misalignment that goes back to the beginning is a front office, led by Joe Lacob, who really, was central to the drafting of Jonathan Kuminga, who just failed to move off Kuminga at various times, despite knowing the coach, the Hall of Fame coach that they were going to keep in with the system and the roster, wasn't going to fit with the player who had different views of his career. And it kind of led to the moment where, look, we spent all summer talking about it. We're still talking about it to this point, and it dragged on way too long, and that became very clear.
Yeah, I'm happy that Jonathan Kuminga gets a fresh start here because he's such a talented player. He just needs a chance and a runway. And if we're getting to the point where we are dissolving into whether or not someone's friend took too much free food, then I think it's time to just have a little bit of a fresh start here. Slater, I promise-ish that this is the last time I'm going to ask you about it. Thank you so very much for your time. Enjoy